and get money for sequestering the carbon or looking after the trees. And then we can also verify other third-party offsets. So if you're currently already buying offsets, then what we can do is we can look at the location and tell you if it is real or not, or like if there's any discrepancy, or if there are risks of forest fires and things like that. So we are backed by the European Space Agency. That means we get access to very high resolution data. And we've built the AI ourselves, so that's a proprietary technology. But through the European Space Agency, we also get access to NASA data and other sort of patents that they have access to.
Brilliant.
So the platform is simple. On one side, you have landowners who currently own land, and they can upload their location, and so we verify it, and then we connect them to buyers. Like, we are working mostly with banks like Swedbank and MasterCard and others who would be needing to offset, and some of their customers. So yeah, it's real and immediate. Every landowner can participate, so you don't need to have a lot of land. Even if you own a couple of acres, that would still be okay. And it's efficient. Like, we can do the verification within a few weeks. Otherwise, it takes like months to do it. I mean, it takes normally 6 months, actually. This is how the dashboard looks. So we also look at the CO2, the number of trees, the land protected. And in the case of the Sundarbans, there it's not only the trees, but it's also how it's preventing the soil erosion, and it's a wetland ecosystem. So there's also biodiversity metrics that we look at in terms of tigers and crocodiles and other things. This is slightly technical, but I try and explain very simply. So traditionally in forests, what happens is you would go in a sample area. So if you have like 1,000 hectares, you would go to a specific area and then you would extrapolate it. So for example, you can traditionally, if you have, let's say, more than less than 50,000 hectares, then you would take like 50 samples. And if you have more than 50,000 hectares, then you would take 75 samples per hectare. And in our case, we can just count all the entire trees. So like in Amazon, for example, we just get the KML file, the location, and we can look at the whole canopy area. So we don't need to just take on one small sample of the area. I don't know if I'm clear on that, but basically what I'm saying is traditional verification is based on sampling of a certain representative, but we can look at the whole canopy.
Yeah.
There is, of course, a challenge in satellite data with Amazon, which we are working on right now, where we are trying to also see what's below the canopy and all of that, but I think we'll get there soon. And it's reducing your time from 6 to 8 months to 6 to 8 weeks. So it makes it much cheaper for you to do the verification. And there are similar efficiencies in cropland and other things. So we are already have almost 50 million trees being banked by us. So there are people who are currently already pledged to sell their carbon through the platform. We're working with the African Development Bank for the soil carbon verification and something called the adaptation benefit mechanism. One of the challenges in carbon markets is that every country needs to be net zero. So countries are now refusing to give their carbon rights. So adaptation benefit mechanism is another mechanism in which you can still get paid for adaptation benefits. So for example, if you're growing coffee or some of the spices or cocoa, and if you're moving from intensive agriculture to more resilient agroforestry methods, then the adaptation benefits can be measured, and you can get a guarantee money from the African Development Bank. So we're helping them with that, verifying that technology.
That's very good.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Are you doing this on a yearly basis? People get a yearly update of their area, or what?
We can do it as frequently as monthly. Because I mean the data of course comes every 5 days, but depending on the cloud cover and the location, I can confidently say every month we can give an update. But traditionally you would do it once in 2 years or 3 years, like when you do it physical verification.
Do you already have a partnership with the Indian banks? And do you have any landowners in India that is part of this?
We are working with, we are not working with Indian banks, but we are working with Indian projects. So in Meghalaya, the project that you saw, that is a Meghalayan, like a landowner, forest owner. And we're also working with a microfinance organization in Sundarbans. That's where we are doing the mangroves. We have planted mangroves and we're protecting mangroves there.
Yeah.
So do you measure soil carbon?
We can measure soil carbon actually, but we haven't done any project yet. But we are in talks with some projects.
Yeah. Would it be like just an idea if we work with schools and communities, local communities, schools in a village, and there is a park related, like a forestry park related to that? Could that be part of inside your project, that like a model? So we'd really work on schools and community-based engagement, because and with banks for India especially.
You mean that the schools would be growing trees or plants, or?
Yes.
Yeah, we can definitely look into that, how that would happen, especially if the school owns its own land.
Yes, they have a school playground.
Yeah.
But let's look into that. It's just like an idea that to anchor it into World Climate School as a partnership, how that can be relevant for the EarthBanc. So if
what is your carbon price right now?
Well, I mean, we depending on what project, because projects are different. Like for example, in the Peru project, if you buy a minimum of 1,000 tons, you can have it for $7 a ton.
Okay.
If you're getting the projects in India, those are our own projects that we haven't done. They are not verified by a third party, but there we price it per tree, like per tree protected. So they are depending on the packages you have. I can see if I can find it. So yeah, this is the options you have. So you can be a champion. So if you are emitting, let's say 6 tons a year, that means we will plant and protect 6 trees a month for you. So that's about 72 trees we plant and protect a year for $5. If you have more emissions, an average Swede has actually around 10 tons. So if you have that kind of emission, then we need to plant and protect. We say plant and protect because you cannot be planting all the time. We only plant once a year, and then we have to protect. So the thinking, the mindset that we are now creating with our communities is that we will pay you to protect the trees, not only to plant but also to protect.
So basically, the increase in carbon in the vegetation is what you get paid for, no matter how you do it.
Exactly, yeah. So actually, as you know, older trees actually sequester more carbon. So we should be protecting as much as we are planting, even more protecting. So yeah, so these are the pricing. So for $10 a month, you can plant almost 12 trees a month, which is almost 84 trees a year.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that's about 12 tons of CO2 in 1 year. So this is more for designed for individuals. We have another website, another section of the website, which is being launched next week, which will be for companies, where you can do an account of how much emissions you have of your company, and there it will be different.
Okay.
But the pricing of carbon is the same.
You're probably in contact with Restore of the 1 Trillion Tree project.
We are not working with them, but we are working now with another project called Eden.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Eden, we are working with them, yeah.
So, but you know that Restore is coming out with a database that actually will give you for any part of land anywhere in the world a recipe of what saplings you should plant there to restore the native vegetation. So it would be nice if you guys would offer that service also.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. We'd love to learn more about it. I mean, some of us have basically been in that field. Like as I mentioned, I worked with Dr. Shiva, and I worked a lot with organic farming. And so this organization I know doing mangroves, I know them for 10 years. Tom actually was a co-author on the book on land restoration, which was published by the UNCCD. He's a permaculture teacher.
Yeah.
So we know a lot about ecosystems in our team. Remley, who Inge also knows, has worked on planting almost 6 million mangroves in Myanmar. And it is his farm in Meghalaya where we are working as well. He's doing massive restoration.
Oh, wonderful. This has enormous possibilities. Wonderful. Great,
Yeah.
great.
So anyways, I think I can stop there. Because I mean, I can go on and on and on, but I think there are some things which are more connected to our business, maybe not so interesting, but I can say a little bit about our team actually. Can't see this. Anyways, I think that what I could say is that Tom, the CEO, he has got experience both in technology and in finance. Our CEO, Chow, she worked with banks in Australia and in the UK. Our CTO has also worked a lot with banks and insurance companies. And what we are finding is that a lot of banks and insurance companies are currently, first of all, not able to understand how to meet their net zero needs. So first of all, how to calculate their footprint, their customers' footprint, and then how to help them reduce it. How do you make finance more congruent with that? So, if you're leasing a greener car or doing a retrofit for a green building, how finance should look for that. But also, how do you calculate climate risk considering that? So could use some of this satellite data to understand that there is a transition risk, because now when we are transitioning, the carbon tax is going to keep increasing for a lot of assets, and your assets could be stranded. And then there is a physical risk in terms of extreme weather events, which could damage your assets or properties. And so some of that data is used for them to make more informed decisions and change what they're offering today, so that they make it cheaper for a more sustainable option, which is not always the case. So the banks are just starting to do that, I would say. And insurance companies also, they haven't really changed that. Like a lot of like developing countries, they still pay very high insurance for climate. But if you are doing regenerative agriculture or something more sustainable, it's not necessary that you would be paying a lower premium on your insurance, for example.
Wow, that was very
that's a good one, really good one. So I would suggest that we exchange the contact details because as we progress further, we may need to know a little more, explore a little more, and get connected the right-minded people and also the organization. As you say, there are corporate schemes as well. I remember one of the projects I was working. So there, during my tenure, it was around 1,25,000 plants had been uh, planted, and they have grown to a good height. So there will be integrities which will be required to understand. So maybe Inger will help us later so that we can directly connect and see what way we can be of use to the larger group here in India. Will that be okay, Mr. Risa?
Yes. So can you tell me a little bit more about your background? You're based in India?
Yes, I'm in
Yeah.
Delhi NCR.
Okay.
I'm professionally an engineer, a power plant engineer.
Okay.
Uh, but now switched to, earlier it was fossil fuel thermal plant. Now I have switched over to renewable, and I'm helping setting up renewable energies and all
Amazing.
this thing, giving consultancy also to people. And we are also in dialogue with one of the Norwegian company to set up a solar plant in India. I don't know how much time it will take, but we are into this. And currently with World Climate School, I have been given the responsibility to lead the WCS activities here in India. And today is our first batch concluding ceremony of the first batch. We are tying up, already tied up, and on 9th of April, we will be starting with one of the school, having students, more than 300 students. Okay. Once that is done, our target is to touch the other school, which is also in queue, maybe around 2,000 to 3,000 students. So mostly we are targeting the institutional area. Along with that, there will be corporates as well. Okay. So it would be good that if we have the total informations, so it will be easier for us to communicate with the people without bothering you much. Once the ground is ready, then we can invite you. Okay, now you guide them further to take it onward.
Yeah.
That was, I think, because the last project where I was, even to the villagers we had invited on Earth Day or Water Day during that kind of thing. So participate in plantations. Okay. And even in the agriculture field also, we help them to go from traditional method to a little more scientific method of growing. And that had given a good result to them. Okay. So this kind of things I had been doing last, I left it in 2016. But that those trees, what I have heard is now grown up in good size, and you can appreciate that for one project, if approximately 1,15,20,000 trees are planted and they are all protected and grown, it looks very massive. And I have a few more power plants where I visit. So there also, in fact, I motivate them to go for plantations. Okay, there is another two. Number one is a fossil fuel company. They are generating more carbons. Okay, so they need to pay back to the society. So for that, plantation is important. Number one, if the business cannot be stopped. Second, the green tribunals are also here. Pollution Control Board also, they have their own law. So around 30% of the land what you use for the project, you have to grow greenery, minimum 30%. You can grow more also. So that kind of things are there. Okay.
And that's wonderful to hear. We are working with one fund which is interested a lot in investing in solar in India, and also the electric sort of charging infrastructure.
Okay. Okay.
So they are looking for investing in such projects between 100 kilowatt to 1 megawatt. So
Okay.
we can also look into that if you're interested.
Good. Maybe we can communicate sometime with your intervention and see how things can be started here with new ventures.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I think I can't take on a lot till June because I have a lot of commitments now here. But I am planning to hopefully come to India in July, so that is when I feel I can do some follow-ups and things like that. Yeah.
Not an issue. We are also not in hurry. But
Yeah.
yes, we don't want to trouble you. That's why I said that first. I must understand your. I have to visit your websites, understand the things, and then if there is any query, then I can send you some message or email. You can get the information back to me. And here in India, if something I can develop and then bring it to you, that here it is. By that time, July is already there. Okay. It's not far away. It's not far away. And moreover, this COVID-19 repeat waves are coming. So the fingers crossed for the visits to India or any place else. I was supposed to visit somewhere for the project evaluation. That was a hydropower project, but then I have stalled it for the time being because of the same impact, serious impact here as well. So I don't know. This COVID is also playing a major role in impacting so many projects and developments. So anyway, but good that we come to know each other, your organization and all. I will be bothering in that sometime to get the details, some more details, and then I will have to spend some time. And as Rob and Hans also knows, my hands are also totally full. Okay. I'm also finding it difficult in handling.
That goes for all of us.
Yeah. So everybody. That's true. But we will work out within that. So if there is a desire, we have to find our own ways. Okay. So those things can be certainly done.